Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual neurolinguistic programming and cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court appointed and private, marriage and relationship coaching, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one sessions in both French or English, and also do group setting. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV Therapy and Coaching Services at 301-325-1550, and our website can be found at lifecoachdanamzalak.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our 8th episode of season 29, a very special guest and author of Unbroken, Life Outside the Lines, Miss Adriene Caldwell. And just like every of my past episode, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Adriene, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank you for having me on your show. My name is Adriene Caldwell. I am the author of Unbroken, Life Outside the Lines. It has taken me 4 years to actually write the book and about 30 years to bring myself to be able to do it. So I am here, I am ready, and I expect the book to go live October 7th.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Adriene. And so the book Unbroken, now obviously the title Unbroken means that nothing about life adversity brought you down to a point of getting into a deep depression and never getting out of it. So it seems like despite everything that you face in life, you still are extremely resilient. You have dealt with a lot of struggles, obviously, and the trauma that goes with it for sure. Now, if you could tell us a little bit more about what kind of trauma are you talking the most in this book? I mean, I know it must be like either a memoir or it must be an autobiography of some sort. So tell us a little bit the nature of this book.
Sure. The easiest way to do that would actually be to go through my trigger warnings on the book.
Mhm.
And these are things that I either witnessed or was the victim of from early childhood to early 20s. I was very nearly sexually assaulted. My best friend Jane was when we were very young. I saw a child drown. Emotional and physical abuse were common in my family. We went through abject poverty, mental illness, not something my family will discuss. They don't even believe in it, but it runs in my family. I've been homeless. I lived through horrifically abusive foster care, bulimia, drug and alcohol addiction, pedophilia, death, and suicide. So what you mentioned earlier, that I must not have gotten down, that's not accurate. I've been down, very down. I have multiple suicide attempts under my belt, and none of them were casual, look at me, or I'm looking for attention or for help. In fact, the last suicide attempt, I had a gun and I put it to my head and I pulled the trigger. So it is by the grace of God that I am even here. So yeah, those are the things that I have been through, and I cover them in detail in Unbroken. So
Well, I mean, for the terms on being unbroken, I mean, it suits perfectly who you are, it appears to me, Adriene, because despite everything that you did go through, and just this is probably just the tip of the iceberg that you're just mentioning here to the listeners, and everything that you have gone through, especially surviving all those suicide attempts, the gun in your head, and everything else that followed. I mean, for a moment being now, how did this time that you went through those dark years? We're talking about how many years, like since you were young until when?
the dark years happened until my mid-20s. And I know this is very common for people to say, but for me, it's the absolute truth. It wasn't until my daughter was born that I got my life together, that I got myself on the right track. My early 20s, I was very much in drug addiction, alcoholism, self-medicating, um, very, very damaged. And it's really been ever since my mid 20s that I've been working and growing. It's not that I just suddenly got over the traumas. I've processed, and writing this book has actually helped me a lot, although it has been hell to write. Because what I've done in my life is each trauma, I put it in a metaphorical box, and I put that metaphorical box on a shelf, and I shut the door and I leave it there. That's how I've coped for 20 years. And writing this book has forced me to take each one out and open it up and explore it and relive through it. So it's been brutal, but I have grown as a result of it. So I would say that my recovery is still ongoing. In fact, I'm exploring TMS. I'm sure you're aware of it,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm still growing. I think when you stop growing, you have a problem.
Well, yes, that I agree. But the term growth, I mean, this is an understatement for you, actually. The key here is what kind of strategy have you done that I mean, of course, writing a book is kind of journaling in some form, which is very, very therapeutic as well. But have you gone seen therapists? Have you done other things that could actually help you get to where you
Sure.
are right now?
Sure, absolutely. I have been on antidepressants since I was 15.
Oh,
And at first, when I was first prescribed them, I felt like I was defective, like there was something wrong with me that they had to fix with medication. And it took about 20 years, but I no longer see it that way. I realize, and not many people know this, but when you go through trauma, repeated trauma, your brain stops making the happy chemicals. You no longer produce the chemicals that an average person's brain does. So you have to provide those chemicals to your body. And I compare it to a diabetic and insulin. Nobody would ever look down on a diabetic for needing insulin.
no.
That's exactly the same thing with depression and needing medication. And
Mm,
I want more people to understand that and to know that,
I,
it's not a failure. It's a strength to be able to say that, hey, look, I need help. Now, when I was in foster care, I was in quote unquote therapeutic foster care. I had a counselor come see me every other week. I lived in therapeutic foster care for about 3 years. It was the most horrible experience. I would hands down have preferred my schizophrenic, physically abusive mother over what I went through in that foster care home. But they did have a therapist, and I do have a psychiatrist. I'm on very good terms with her. I've been with her since 2008. She's actually retiring at the end of this month, and I am very upset. I'm like, please, no, don't go.
yeah.
But she's been with me forever.
Now you mentioned earlier about TMS. Is it transcranial magnetic stimulation?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so but that treats mostly depression and other forms. This is some form of therapy, but I heard that this is not really long-term cure. I mean, this is something that you could do just like cognitive behavior psychotherapy. You have to constantly do it. So is that the case?
No, not at all. From my understanding, the neural networks in your brain, cortisol causes them to die or wither. And with the TMS, it stimulates the brain in a way that makes those neural networks reconnect and grow. So I actually I've had one session that was just done randomly, but I actually have an appointment on the 18th. My first meeting with the psychiatrist who's going to put everything together so that I can start TMS. It's something I don't do talk therapy. I lived it for those years, and honestly, it's not something that has ever really worked for me.
I
Um, oh, go ahead.
No, no, I was just asking because it is known for TMS not to be a permanent cure, which means that you constantly have, if let's say your depression or your OCD comes back, you constantly have to go back to do maintenance session to be able to get the benefit, to reap the benefit out of TMS. So I was just wondering because a lot of listeners out there have no clue what transcranial magnetic stimulation is. So I was just wondering exactly if it works for specific people dealing with specific condition or is it universal?
Well, you'd have to ask a doctor. My understanding is that it helps those neural networks reconnect, and you have to go back for maintenance like every 6 months.
I see.
So, but it is what I have been told is that I would go every day for 6 weeks. So is that right?
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
6 weeks.
Yeah, that's definitely a very deep involvement, to say the least, right?
Yes, but what wouldn't you do to be happy?
Well, yes,
So,
we do.
and I am happy, but this is something, especially with writing this book, I basically ripped off the scabs on some wounds that have never fully healed. And I don't do talk therapy, so I'm thinking this may actually help me with some of the emotions that have been brought up from writing this. So I wish I could say that I was perfect and all recovered and but I'm still a work in progress. So
Hmm. It's interesting. I mean, but I could see right now with what you went through and the trauma that you went through that any mode of therapy or modality that is used to be able to help you alleviate any future symptoms of depression or anything of that sort. I mean, whatever works for you, Adrian, that's what's most important. So, if we go back to the after your 20s, once you had your daughter, do you think that the pregnancy hormone change the condition or your rewiring of your brain?
no, no, I don't.
Okay.
Um, so I no. What happened is I had to get off of my antidepressants
Okay.
while I was pregnant. So
Okay.
I was basically crazy for 40 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know it wasn't the pregnancy hormone. I have an attachment disorder along with PTSD and MDD and, all the fun stuff. I have all the letters. Um, no, she was born August 7th, and it wasn't until November 8th that I made the decision that I was going to raise her, that I was capable of doing it, and that I was going to give her the childhood that I did not have. And that meant doing whatever it took to take care of her. And so basically, I got my life in order. So no, it wasn't the pregnancy hormone because I didn't immediately bond with her. She was born August 7th and November 8th is when I made the decision that I could keep her. Before that, I was telling my husband to take her and to go with his parents and to raise her with them, that I couldn't do it. I was terrified of being a parent. So I was off my actually when I gave birth, my psychiatrist immediately gave me a prescription for my antidepressant. I got on it immediately. So maybe the antidepressant kicked in around November 8th, and that's when I decided that I could raise her.
But then also
So
you had the postpartum depression, which exacerbated the already existing condition that you had prior to pregnancy that probably just kind of like made it even worse. So when he gave you back the medication, probably everything came back to somewhat of a normal.
maybe I don't think I really suffered from postpartum. My aunt did, but with both of her children,
Mhm.
and I didn't really go through that. Um, for me, the problem was being off of antidepressants and the mood swings and the depression and the terror of having a child and being in no way ready. So
So, okay, so then when you wrote the book, you said because the book was like, it took you a while to write it. So, how did you reorganize your thoughts, Adrienne, to be able to include all those triggers, all those traumas? I mean, sometime by default or just as a way to not let our sympathetic nervous system to be able to get involved, the fight or flee. But do you think that you try to bury all those memories inside your brain or inside your subconscious mind to be able to kind of forget all that trauma?
absolutely. I repressed tons of emotions, tons of events. It was my coping mechanism. And I can tell you this. So I was a ward of the state of Texas. My mother ended up giving up her rights. And when I got out of Children's Protective Services, when I was 20 years old, I went back and I asked for my case file. And I received this office box full, these two giant stacks of paper, and it was every piece of paper, every report, every outcome, anything pertaining to me uh, that had filtered through Children's Protective Services. So I got that when I was 20 years old, and it wasn't until about 4 years ago that I was able to even start to go through it. I had tried over the years, and every time I would just become overwhelmed. And I would just put the lid back on the box and just put the box back under the couch. I put it under the couch. That for some reason that's where I stored it, but I put it under the couch and I could not go through it. So I actually started going through it 4 years ago. And I got very angry about how I was treated in foster care. And the people that I told about how I was treated and what happened, they supported me, but there was nothing that anybody could do. The statute of limitations was long over, so I couldn't take her to court or have her put in jail or anything like that. And it was out of that I started writing, because I couldn't get any sort of resolution
Justice.
from, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that there was no way for you to get justice for all
Justice.
the mis.
Exactly.
So,
And I started writing, and it started there. But I have heard over my life, from the time I was 16 years old on, to anyone that I would share some of my life with, which I went to 13 different schools growing up. I got very good at meeting people and also very good at keeping the conversation on them, not me. So for the few people that I did share any part of my story with, they would always say, you should write a book. So I've heard that my entire life for 45 years. And so 4 years ago, when I was going through those papers, that's when I started. And yeah, I started at the beginning and just laid it out.
so you mentioned earlier, Adrian, and I know that a lot of people who are listening to this podcast, they're dealing also with probably some similar struggles. That's a given. Some people try to, like you did, they wrote a book to be able to share with the general population all they gone through. Others, they do other kind of journaling. They do, whatever method works the best for them. So if let's say we had to give some advice to those who are listening to be able to know how from all those suicide ideation that you had, or even those attempts to be able to end your life, from one to the other, once you got the gun, I'm not sure which other attempt that you had. You said multiple. Um,
Multiple.
But when it failed, one after the other, didn't you think that maybe the universe or some power from above wanted you to be able to share your story, and that was a sign for you to kind of quit on those attempts?
That's exactly what I thought when the gun did not fire. Yeah, that's Dr. Dan. That's exactly what I thought. That I am put on this earth for some purpose, and I will not be allowed to leave until I have fulfilled my role, whatever that is. Now, unfortunately, God or a higher power didn't send like a memo saying what I was supposed to do.
Yes.
But yes, that the attempt with the gun was my very last suicide attempt. And yes, I knew that there is some purpose I am meant to serve.
Well, you know, a lot of people out there, Adrienne, fail to really understand the purpose. And you said, like you just earlier, ironically, you said that there was no memo for you to be able to really understand the signs that the power from above gives to anyone about what their purpose is. And sometimes we really we struggle to be able to figure out, why are we being put on this earth for? And I think
Right,
your story in itself provides some key elements to many out there who are still, struggling with their own challenges in life, or hurdles, or whatever else you want to be able to define. But at the same time, it isn't something that you said to yourself that after you start writing the book, and you said the October 7th is the time that is going to get published, or is it going to be distributed? What exactly is the
um, it's well, that week is Mental Health Awareness Week, so I would really like to launch my book to coordinate with Mental Health Awareness Week. But I'm not sure that we're going to make that date. So it might just be my audiobook and my ebook. The print might have to wait till a month or two later, but yes, October 7th is when I want to release it to the world.
Actually, the good thing that you could do as well, you may not have a paperback version for October 7th, but people can still order the digital version. So I would
Mhm.
not stop people from still ordering the ebook of the actual book itself to be able to get acquainted. If they want a hard copy, yeah, they could wait a couple more months to be able to order that copy. But I think it's a good timing, as you mentioned, to be able to launch it during Mental Awareness Week, because I think this is just perfect timing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Of course.
And to all the people who are still struggling, my book is not a solution. I don't have some sort of program that I'm trying to sell anybody or any magic cures out there. What I am doing is I am sharing my story and what I went through. And what I want to do with that is I want to show everyone else who is struggling or who has struggled that, look, I got through it. I made it through all of this. You can get it, you can make it through what you're struggling with as well. You can do it too. That's my message with my book.
Yes, and this is definitely a very, very deep message to many out there who are second doubting themselves and not knowing that if they can make it happen. Because when you fall into this kind of vortex of depression, just like a
Mhm.
black hole, once you go in, there's no way out. So for them, they have to find the support to be able to get to where they need to be. And the
Absolutely.
challenge in itself, Adrian, is that unfortunately they don't have the right support to be able to get them out of this like deep hole. So is there like other resources that you would suggest for people to go to in terms of what the state offers or the county to be able to help them go through those difficult challenges?
Well, of course, there's the website wannatalkaboutit.com, and that's for anyone who's struggling. I think they cover the gamut from suicide to sexual assault to basically any trauma that you need immediate help with. I actually made up what I call the depression rules. There are three rules that you have to follow whenever you're in a depression. My best friend, I've known him since the eighth grade, and we both abide by it. And the first rule is eat at least once a day. The second rule is shower at least twice a week. And
Okay.
the third rule is sleep as much as possible. So
Interesting.
those are the depression rules. But when you're in it, um, ask for help, reach out. The head in the ground, head in the sand, the ostrich move only works for so long.
Yeah.
And I believe there's some value in being down and allowing yourself to feel the emotions, but it's what you do with them at the end of a short stretch of time. You can't stay in that mode. And that's where the problems happen when you're stuck in that. And that's when it's time to reach out for help to a friend, to a counselor. If you or your spouse works, their employer almost certainly has employer benefits, employer well-being benefits.
Mhm.
It is quite possible that through the employer, you can have access to therapists and counselors that they will cover your therapy. All you have to do is ask your employer, or ask your spouse's employer. My husband works with companies to put together their benefit packages for people. And this is one of the most underutilized services out there.
So true.
These companies are paying money, but their employees are not taking advantage of this. So I would just absolutely reach out to your employer. I know it seems odd, but everything is HIPAA protected. It's not going to get back to your employer, but it's definitely a resource. To me, it's better than the county or the state.
Yes.
I live in Texas. We mind our own business and keep our, yeah. We
Absolutely.
don't offer benefits like that.
That I
Yeah.
can imagine.
Texas is very much you're on your own.
Yes.
I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You do what you do, and we won't have any problems. You just stay over there. I'll stay over here.
Now, before we conclude the podcast, Adrienne, can you just tell again the listeners the name of the title of the book and where it's going to be available on by
Sure.
Oprah?
Absolutely. Thank you. So my book is Unbroken, Life Outside the Lines. If you go to my website, which is Unbroken Caldwell, CALDWELL.com, you can sign up and I will email you immediately the prologue in chapter one. And there's also a pre-order link at the bottom of the form. So definitely go to my website. You can get the first prologue in chapter one. You can get the pre-order taken care of. That way, when it comes out on October 7th, you have it immediately. And on my website, I also offer things like my CPS documents,
Mhm.
photographs, things uh, that other trauma memoir writers haven't really provided. So my goal is one day for my book to be included in the curriculum for
Oh,
students studying psychology or counseling focused on childhood trauma. So
beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
go to my website, take a look, sign up. And yeah, it's
Excellent.
been great being here with you, Dr. Dan.
Look,
I've
Adrienne.
really had a good session.
Yes, unfortunately, this is all the time that we have for today's podcast. And again, thank you sincerely for taking the time of your busy schedule to join us. And we all appreciate your participation and willingness to share your remarkable and story about resilience for a large and loyal audience. Now, to all of the millions of listeners out there, we hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. We're excited to have for what's ahead in season 29 of the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, featuring a lineup of incredible guests with powerful stories that will continue and uplift all of you. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. From the death of untreated mental illness, abuse, addiction, and unimaginable trauma, you rise and refuse to be defined by your pain alone. Your difficult journey through darkness is so consuming, but yet threatened to erase every trace of hope, leaving an unyielding inner light to surface. You're not just a tale of survival, but of an awakening, resilience, and reclaiming the power stolen by life's cruelties. Every scar tells the battle you fought and won, and every step forward proves that healing is possible. Your life is a testament that no matter how deep the shadows, the light from within can never be extinguished. My name is Dr. Dan Amzalag, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.